What happens when you realize the Emperor's blessing is a poison you've been drinking your whole life? I thought faith would save me. That devotion would shield me from doubt. That prayer would make the horror make sense. But some things, once seen, cannot be unseen. Some blessings, once spilled, reveal what they truly are. My name is Sereth Morn, and I was a missionary canoness of the Adeptus Astartes. I carried his word to the faithless. I burned heretics with righteous fire. I taught children to pray before they could speak their own names. For 23 years, I believed every word I spoke. Until the day I watched a blessing spill across a temple floor and realized it was never holy at all. The mission world of Sanctus Lael was where everything ended. Or began. I still cannot decide which. Population: 47 million souls. A recently compliant world, brought into the imperial fold only 3 generations prior. The people still practiced old traditions alongside their new faith, still whispered prayers to forgotten gods in the privacy of their homes, still carved symbols their grandparents had taught them into doorframes and windowsills. We called it cultural contamination. The ecclesiarchy called it acceptable transition period variance. The Inquisition called it heresy waiting to bloom. I called it home. I had served on Sanctus Lael for 6 years, longer than any previous posting. I knew the streets of its capital, Lael Primus. I knew the faces of the children in our Schola Progenium. I knew the taste of their local bread, slightly sweet from native grain, and the smell of incense they burned during evening prayers, a hybrid of imperial and indigenous tradition that the local ecclesiarch had reluctantly approved. I was happy there. As happy as a sister of battle could be. I had purpose, community, faith. I led morning prayers in the Grand Cathedral. I taught the Emperor's word to eager students. I walked among the people and saw their devotion growing, genuine and pure, not enforced by fear but nurtured by understanding. Sister Sereth, the children would call as I passed through the market districts. Tell us about the Emperor's angels. Tell us about the Great Crusade. And I would tell them. Not with the harsh dogma I had learned in my own training, but with warmth, with stories that made faith feel like shelter rather than shackles. The Cardinal Legate who arrived from Terra did not approve. Cardinal Hester Vrain. I can still see his face, gaunt and severe, lips perpetually twisted in disapproval. He arrived aboard a black ship with an escort of Fraterus militia and a mandate from the Synod of the Ecclesiarchy to review doctrinal compliance and recommend corrective measures. I stood with the local ecclesiarch and civic authorities as his ship descended, the black hull blotting out the sun, casting the landing field in shadow that felt like omen. Sister Canoness, he addressed me that first day, his voice dry as parchment. I have read reports of your methods here. Teaching through joy rather than discipline. Permitting syncretism with local customs. Speaking of the Emperor's love rather than his wrath. The people respond to, I began. The people must be taught obedience, not comfort, he cut me off. Faith is a weapon, sister. You have been wielding it like a toy. That should have been my first warning. But I was too confident in my own righteousness, too certain that 6 years of patient work had created something genuine and lasting. Cardinal Vrain conducted his review over the course of 3 weeks. He attended services. He interviewed clergy. He examined our educational materials and teaching methods. He walked through the markets and residential districts, his cold eyes cataloging every deviation from strict imperial orthodoxy. I thought perhaps he would see what I saw, a people genuinely embracing the imperial faith, adapting it to their culture in ways that made it sustainable rather than imposed. I was catastrophically wrong. The summons came on the morning of the 23rd day. All senior clergy and military commanders were to attend an emergency convocation at the cardinal's temporary residence. Attendance was mandatory. The tone was ominous. We gathered in what had been the governor's hall, now repurposed as the cardinal's headquarters. 30 of us, ecclesiarchs, canonesses, guard commanders, arbites judges, representatives of the administratum. The room was cold despite the midday heat outside. The cardinal had ordered all windows sealed and covered. Cardinal Vrain stood before us, flanked by his Fraterus militia, armed and armored as if expecting resistance. "I have completed my review," he began without preamble. "Sanctus Lael is in a state of advanced spiritual corruption. The syncretism you have tolerated has created not faith, but heresy with a thin veneer of imperial compliance." Murmurs of protest rose from the assembled clergy. The local ecclesiarch stepped forward. "Your Eminence, with respect, the people here are devout. They tithe faithfully. They send their sons and daughters to the Imperial Guard and the Schola. They pray to false idols while mouthing imperial liturgy," Vrain interrupted. "They carve pagan symbols alongside the Aquila. They teach their children songs that predate imperial compliance. This is not faith. This is infection." "The symbols are purely decorative," I said, finding my voice. "The songs are cultural artifacts. They pose no threat to true faith. These people love the Emperor. I have witnessed it personally." Cardinal Vrain turned his cold gaze to me. "You have witnessed what you wished to see, Sister Canoness, because you yourself have been infected by their corruption. You have forgotten that the Emperor demands purity, not adaptation. Absolute devotion, not comfortable accommodation." He gestured, and one of his aides produced a data slate. "I have catalogued 4,127 distinct violations of orthodox practice across this world. 4,127 instances where local tradition has diluted imperial truth. This cannot be tolerated. This will not be permitted to spread." The room fell silent. We all understood what was coming, even if we could not yet accept it. "By the authority vested in me by the Synod of the Ecclesiarchy, I am declaring Sanctus Lael a world in spiritual rebellion. Immediate corrective measures will be implemented." "What measures?" the governor asked, his voice barely a whisper. "Complete purification," Vrain replied. "All existing religious structures will be demolished and rebuilt to orthodox specifications. All clergy found to have permitted syncretism will be removed from service and subjected to penitential re-education. All children under the age of 12 will be separated from their families and placed in imperial orphanages to ensure proper indoctrination." "You cannot," the ecclesiarch began. "I can and I will," Vrain said. "And should resistance manifest, I have been granted authorization to requisition Imperial Guard forces to enforce compliance. This world will be brought to heel, by persuasion or by fire." I felt something crack inside me. Not a sudden break, but the first fissure in a foundation I had believed unshakable. "The children," I heard myself say. "You would tear families apart. Condemn parents to the anguish of separation. Traumatize an entire generation. For what? For singing old songs. For preserving the purity of imperial faith," Vrain replied. "The pain of a generation is insignificant compared to the eternal damnation that awaits those who stray from the Emperor's light." The calculus was familiar. I had learned it in my own training. Individual suffering meant nothing measured against the greater good. The needs of the Imperium outweighed any personal anguish. One must be willing to sacrifice anything, anyone, for the Emperor's will. But standing there, imagining the faces of the children I had taught, imagining them torn from their parents' arms, sent to distant facilities where their spirits would be broken and remade in the image the Imperium demanded, I could not accept it. "I will not participate in this," I said. The room froze. A Sororitas openly defying a cardinal legate was unthinkable. Vrain's expression did not change. "You will follow your orders, sister, or you will be stripped of your rank and subjected to the same penitential measures as the rest of the failed clergy." "Then strip me of my rank," I replied. "I will not help you break these people. They are not heretics. They are faithful in their own way. They deserve nothing but what the Emperor grants them," Vrain cut me off. "And he grants them correction." He turned to his militia. "Place Sister Sereth under arrest. She will undergo intensive doctrinal re-education until her obedience is restored." The militia moved toward me. My own sisters in the room looked away, unable or unwilling to meet my eyes. Only one, Sister Kyla, younger than me by a decade, took a step as if to intervene. I shook my head at her. One career destroyed was enough. They took me that afternoon to a detention facility in the cathedral's lower levels. A cell of bare stone, cold and dark. I was given a single candle, a copy of the Imperial Creed, and instructions to pray for forgiveness until I understood my error. Prayed. But not for forgiveness. I prayed for understanding. For clarity. For some sign that what I had believed my entire life was true. No sign came. Only silence and the flickering candle flame. On the third day of my confinement, Sister Kyla visited. She brought water and bread, but more importantly, information. The families are resisting, she whispered through the cell door's small window. Parents are hiding their children. The militia has begun conducting house-to-house searches. There have been incidents. What kind of incidents? I asked, though I already knew. Violence. The militia fired on a crowd that refused to surrender their children. 17 dead. Dozens wounded. The Cardinal has declared martial law. I closed my eyes. This was how it always happened. Escalation. Resistance met with force. Force met with greater resistance. Until entire populations had to be pacified or purged. Seraph, Kyla said, using my first name instead of my rank, a small rebellion. Some of us are questioning the Cardinal's methods. Not his authority but his severity. Is this truly the Emperor's will? To break faithful people for singing old songs? It was the question I had been asking myself for 3 days in darkness. I don't know anymore, I admitted. I used to be certain. Now I am certain of nothing except that this feels wrong. That it has always felt wrong, but I ignored the feeling because I was taught that doubt was weakness. What will you do? She asked. What can I do? I am a prisoner. Soon I will be broken and remade, or I will be executed for continued defiance. Kyla was quiet for a long moment. Then, there is a third option. She explained quickly, in whispers. A merchant ship, the Wandering Providence, was scheduled to depart Sanctus Lael in 2 days. Its captain was sympathetic to the families, had quietly agreed to smuggle some of the hidden children off-world to relatives in neighboring systems. For the right price, he might take a passenger who needed to disappear. You're suggesting I desert, I said, the word bitter on my tongue. I'm suggesting you save yourself, Kyla replied. Before they destroy what you are. Before they remake you into something that would approve of what's happening here. She was right. I could feel it already, the pressure to conform, to accept, to rationalize. Another week of re-education, and I might convince myself that Cardinal Vrain's methods were necessary. That the suffering was justified. That the Emperor's will demanded this cruelty. I would rather die than become that. How would I even escape this cell? I asked. Leave that to me, Kyla said. Be ready tomorrow night. And Seraph? I'm sorry. For all of us who stood by and did nothing. She left before I could respond. The escape the following night was almost too easy. Kyla had bribed one of the junior guards, a local recruit who had joined the ecclesiarchy's service but whose loyalty to Sanctus Lael ran deeper than his oaths to Terra. He opened my cell during the shift change, provided me with civilian clothing and false identification documents. My sister's children are among those being hunted, he said as he handed me the documents. Get away from here. Tell people what's happening. Tell them we are not heretics. We are just trying to preserve who we are. I wanted to promise him that I would, but I knew better. Who would listen to a deserter? A disgraced sororitas? Who would believe that the ecclesiarchy could be wrong? I fled into the night, moving through streets I had walked 1,000 times in my white armor, now dressed in borrowed clothes, a fugitive in a city I had called home. The city was different. Quiet, fearful, militia patrols on every corner. Lights in windows extinguished early. The joyful community I had known had been replaced by a population living under occupation. I made my way to the merchant district, to the landing field where the wandering Providence was docked. Captain Harrow was exactly as Kyla had described, old, scarred, with eyes that had seen too much and a pragmatic disregard for imperial authority. Sister Canoness. He greeted me, using my rank despite my civilian clothes. Or former sister, I suppose. Your friend told me you needed passage away from this world with no questions asked. Can you provide it? I asked. For the right price. And it's not throne gelt I'm after. I need assurance. If I'm caught smuggling a deserter from the Sororitas, they'll burn my ship with me inside it. Why should I risk that? I had nothing to offer him. No currency, no favors, no leverage. Because what's happening here is wrong, I said finally. And maybe you're the kind of man who still cares about that. He studied me for a long moment, then laughed, a harsh sound. I must be getting soft in my old age. Fine. You can work your passage. We're short-handed anyway. But if Imperial forces stop us, your cargo I knew nothing about. Understood. I understood. The wandering Providence lifted off 3 hours later, just before dawn. I watched through a porthole as Sanctus Lael fell away below us, the lights of Lael Primus fading into darkness. Somewhere down there, children were being hunted. Families were being torn apart. All in the name of the Emperor's purity. And I had run away. The guilt was crushing, immediate. What kind of sister abandons the people she swore to protect? What kind of faith is so weak that it breaks at the first true test? But beneath the guilt was something else. Something I had never felt before in all my years of service. Relief. Relief that I would not have to participate in what was coming. That I would not have to watch children scream as they were taken from their parents. That I would not have to rationalize it as necessary, as holy, as the Emperor's will. I had escaped. But escaped to what? The first week aboard the wandering Providence, I kept to myself, working in the cargo holds, avoiding the crew. Captain Harrow respected my desire for anonymity, introducing me to the others only as Sarah, a refugee seeking transport to the outer systems. But ships are small places, and secrets are hard to keep. On the 8th day, the ship's navigator found me during my rest period. She was young for her position, maybe 30 standard years, with the signature third eye of her kind concealed beneath a silk bandana. "You're Sororitas," she said without preamble. "I can see it in the way you move, the way you pray when you think no one's watching. What's a battle sister doing fleeing an imperial world in civilian clothes?" I considered lying, but what was the point? "I'm a deserter," I said. I refused to follow orders I believed were wrong. She sat down across from me, studying me with her normal eyes, keeping the third mercifully covered. What kind of orders? I told her. About Sanctus Lael, about Cardinal Vrain's purification, about the children. She listened in silence. "The Imperium eats its own," she finally said. "My family has served as navigators for 7,000 years. Do you know how many times we've witnessed worlds burned, populations purged, all for compliance? The Imperium doesn't want faith. It wants obedience. There's a difference." "Then why do you serve?" I asked. "Because the alternative is worse," she replied. "The warp is full of things that would devour humanity wholesale if given the chance. Chaos doesn't discriminate, doesn't build, doesn't preserve. It only corrupts and destroys. The Imperium is brutal, yes. Cruel, certainly. But it's a bulwark against something infinitely more terrible." The argument was familiar. I had made it myself countless times. The Emperor's cruelty serves a purpose. Individual suffering prevents greater catastrophe. We do terrible things so that humanity might survive. But at what point does the bulwark become indistinguishable from the threat? I asked. If we sacrifice our humanity to preserve humanity, what exactly are we preserving? The navigator had no answer. Or perhaps she did, but knew I would not accept it. We traveled for 3 weeks, moving through a series of minor systems on the outer rim of Imperial space. Captain Harrow was true to his word, asking no questions about my plans or destination. But eventually, he approached me with a proposal. "We're headed to a trade station called Haven's Edge," he said. "It's technically within Imperial jurisdiction, but barely. The station authority is more concerned with commerce than compliance. People go there to disappear, to trade things the Imperium frowns upon, to make connections outside official channels." "You're suggesting I disappear there?" I asked. "I'm suggesting you have a choice to make," he replied. "You can try to reach the outer darkness beyond Imperial borders, hope you find some forgotten corner where no one asks questions. Or you can stay on the edges, the liminal spaces where Imperial authority is weak enough that someone with your skills might build a new life." "What skills?" I asked bitterly. "I know how to pray, how to preach, how to kill in the Emperor's name. What use are those skills outside the Imperium?" "You'd be surprised," Harrow said. "Faith is currency on the fringes. People want to believe in something, even if they've been burned by the Imperium. A former sister who still believes but questions, who can speak the words of faith without the ecclesiarchy's cruelty. That's valuable." I didn't believe him then, but I agreed to disembark at Haven's Edge, having no better destination. The station was exactly as described, a sprawling construct of interconnected modules and salvaged ships, orbiting a dim red star at the intersection of several minor trade routes. It housed perhaps 50,000 permanent residents and saw triple that in transient traffic. My back hit a support pillar. The figure didn't advance. Just stood there. No one asked for Imperial identification at the docking checkpoints. No one questioned my presence or purpose. It was freedom of a kind I had never experienced, and it terrified me. I found cheap quarters in one of the older modules, a 10-meter cube that had once been crew quarters on a decommissioned transport. I had enough throne gelt that Captain Harrow had paid me for my labor aboard his ship to survive for perhaps 2 months if I lived frugally. After that, I would need to find work. But doing what? The answer found me before I had to search for it. In the 3rd week of my residence on Haven's Edge, I was purchasing supplies in the station's main market when I heard crying. A child, young, maybe 6 standard years. She sat on the floor of a narrow corridor between vendor stalls, knees drawn up, face buried in her arms. Everyone walked past her. No one stopped. I stopped. "Are you hurt?" I asked, kneeling beside her. She looked up, eyes red from crying. "I can't find my mother. We were shopping and I turned around and she was gone and I don't know how to get home." The fear in her voice was universal. Every child, on every world, knows that terror of being lost. I spent the next hour helping her search, asking vendors, checking with station security. Eventually, we found her mother, frantic with worry, in the market's central plaza. The reunion was beautiful, simple, human. The colony numbered only about 8,000 souls, but they had built something beautiful. Their settlement was constructed around a natural geothermal spring that provided heat and power. Their architecture blended function with artistry, every building designed not just for efficiency but for beauty. And they were happy. Genuinely happy. Not the forced contentment of an oppressed population, not the fearful obedience of imperial citizens, but the natural joy of people living according to their own values and traditions. Their leader, called simply the Architect, was a woman of perhaps 60 standard years, her hair silver, her hands marked with the calluses of a lifetime of building. "You're from the Imperium," she said when we met, not a question. "I was," I replied. "Not anymore. But you still carry it with you," she observed. "I can see it in your posture, hear it in your speech. The Imperium shapes even those who reject it." She wasn't wrong. Despite my desertion, despite 2 years with the Threshold Collective, I still thought in Imperial terms, still measured things against Imperial standards. "I'm here to help," I said. "Your world has been discovered. Soon, the Imperium will come. I want to prepare you for what that means." The architect smiled, sad and knowing. "We have always known this day would come. Our ancestors warned us that eventually, the great empire that spans the stars would find us. That we would be given a choice, submit or be destroyed." "There are other options," I said. "Ways to appear compliant while maintaining your autonomy. The Imperium is vast. It cannot watch every world closely. If you—" "No," she interrupted gently. "You misunderstand. We will not submit. Not even in appearance. What we have built here is worth protecting, even if protection means destruction." I stared at her. "You would choose extinction over compliance?" "We would choose to remain who we are," she replied. "For as long as possible. Our children will know what it means to live freely, even if that freedom is brief. That is worth more than 1,000 years of survival under someone else's terms." It was insanity. Beautiful, idealistic insanity. And it forced me to confront a question I had been avoiding since my desertion. Was survival always worth the cost? Or were there things worth dying for? I spent 3 weeks on Last Light, getting to know the people, understanding their way of life. They had no formal religion, but practiced what they called the weaving, a philosophical system that emphasized interconnection, community, the beauty of creation. It was everything the Imperial Creed was not. Open instead of dogmatic, questioning instead of certain, celebratory instead of penitential. And it was doomed. On the morning of my 23rd day on Last Light, the sensors detected incoming ships. Not rogue traders this time. Imperial Navy frigates, 3 of them, accompanied by transports carrying administratum officials and ecclesiarchy missionaries. The Imperium had arrived. The architect gathered her people in the central plaza. 8,000 souls, young and old, facing the inevitable. "They will offer us choice," she said, her voice carrying across the gathered crowd. "Join them, adopt their ways, submit to their emperor, or be declared hostile and dealt with accordingly." "What will we choose?" a young man called out, fear evident in his voice. "We will choose ourselves," the architect replied. "We will remain who we are, speak our truth, and accept whatever consequence follows." It was suicide. Collective, deliberate suicide. I couldn't accept it. That night, I went to the architect privately. "Let me negotiate with them," I begged. "I know how they think, how they operate. I can find a middle way, something that preserves your core values while satisfying their need for compliance." The architect shook her head. "You have been kind to us, Seraph. But you do not understand. There is no middle way. Any compromise with the Imperium means becoming the Imperium, eventually. A little compliance today becomes total submission tomorrow. We have studied the pattern across countless worlds. It never varies." "Then you will all die," I said flatly. "Perhaps," she agreed. "Or perhaps we will show the universe that there are still people willing to resist. That not everyone can be broken, bought, or bullied into obedience. The gesture matters, even if it changes nothing." The Imperial delegation arrived the next morning. A missionarius galaxia, flanked by armed guards and administratum scribes. I watched from the crowd as they made their formal offer. Join the Imperium. Accept the Emperor's rule. Adopt the Imperial Creed. In return, protection, trade, connection to the greater galaxy. The architect listened politely, then refused. "We thank you for your offer," she said with perfect courtesy. "But we choose to decline. We have built something precious here. We will not surrender it." The missionarius's expression hardened. "You do not understand. This is not a negotiation. You have been discovered. You will comply with imperial authority, or you will be designated hostile and dealt with accordingly." "Then deal with us accordingly," the architect replied. "We are ready." The missionarius turned to his guards. "Detain her. Detain all of them. They will be transported to a compliance facility for re-education. That was when I stepped forward. I don't know what I intended. To plead? To negotiate? To throw myself between the colony and the Imperium's wrath? But the moment I emerged from the crowd, the missionarius recognized me. His eyes widened. "Sister Canoness Sereth Morn," he breathed. "You're supposed to be undergoing penitential re-education on Sanctus Lael. What are you doing here?" The crowd murmured. They hadn't known my full history. "I'm a deserter," I said clearly. "I abandoned my post because I could no longer participate in the Imperium's brutality. And I'm telling you now, these people are innocent. They deserve to be left in peace." The missionarius's face twisted with disgust. A fallen sister defending heretics. How appropriate. You will both be taken into custody. Charges of desertion and harboring hostiles will be. "No," the architect interrupted. She turned to me. "Thank you, Sereth. But this is not your fight. You have your own path." She turned back to the missionarius. "This woman has done nothing but try to help us. She is guilty of nothing but compassion. Take us if you must, but let her go." "I'm not leaving you," I said. "You must," the architect replied. "Because someone needs to remember. Someone needs to tell the story of what happened here. That we existed. That we chose ourselves. That we did not go quietly into obedience." The missionarius was giving orders, guards moving forward to detain the colonists. In the confusion, the architect pressed something into my hand. A small data crystal. "Our history," she whispered. "Our weaving. Everything we were. Scatter it across the stars. Let others know that resistance is possible." Before I could respond, Lisa appeared from the crowd, grabbing my arm. "We need to go. Now. Our ship is ready." "I can't leave them." "You can't help them," Lisa said harshly. "All you can do now is honor their choice and survive to tell about it." She was right. I knew she was right. But running away while the architect and her people faced imperial re-education felt like betrayal. Like every other time I had chosen survival over sacrifice. We fled. Back to our transport, lifting off even as imperial forces were rounding up the colonists. I watched through the viewport as last light fell away below us, the beautiful settlement that had stood for 3 centuries about to be dismantled and rebuilt in the Imperium's image. I held the data crystal in my hand, feeling its weight. 8,000 souls reduced to a few gigabytes of information. Was this all that remained of resistance? Stories and data? Memories of people who chose death over submission? That night, alone in my quarters aboard the transport, I finally broke. The tears I had been holding since Sanctus Lael, since my desertion, since every horror I had witnessed and participated in, came flooding out. I had thought I was strong. Thought my faith was unshakable. Thought I could find a way to preserve what was good in the Imperial Creed while rejecting its cruelty. But I had failed. Sanctus Lael was probably still under Cardinal Vrain's purification. Last light would be forcibly integrated. And I was running away again, powerless to stop any of it. I looked at the data crystal. The architect had called it their weaving, their philosophy of interconnection and community. I activated it. What I saw changed everything. The weaving was not just a philosophy. It was a practice, a way of seeing the universe that recognized the fundamental interdependence of all things. Not in the Imperium's hierarchical sense, where everything served the Emperor, but in a web of mutual support and influence. And embedded in the data were connections. Records of other worlds, other communities that had been discovered and integrated by the Imperium. Some had been destroyed. Some had been forcibly converted. But some had survived, maintaining aspects of their original culture beneath the veneer of imperial compliance. The architect had been collecting these records for decades, building a secret network of worlds that remembered what they had been before the Imperium came. She had not been preparing to resist, through violence or defiance. She had been preserving memory, creating threads of continuity that the Imperium could not fully erase. And now she had given me access to that network. I spent days studying the data. Hundreds of worlds. Thousands of communities. All maintaining some fragment of their pre-imperial identity, passing it down through songs, stories, traditions that seemed innocuous to imperial authorities but carried deep meaning to those who understood. This was resistance of a different kind. Not violent rebellion, not dramatic defiance, but patient, persistent preservation of identity despite centuries of attempted erasure. It was beautiful, and it was within my ability to support. When we returned to Haven's Edge, I met with Lisa and the other members of the Threshold Collective. I need resources, I told them. Transport, communication equipment, funds. I need to visit the worlds in this network, strengthen the connections between them, help them preserve what they are. That's dangerous work, Lisa said. If the Inquisition discovers a network of worlds maintaining pre-imperial traditions, they'll burn it all, I finished. I know, but the architect was right. The gesture matters. Even if we change nothing, the act of remembering, of preserving, of refusing to let the Imperium completely erase what came before, that has value. Lisa studied me for a long moment. You've changed. When you first came here, you were still trying to be a sister of battle without the Imperium. Now you're becoming something else. She was right. I had changed. The sister canoness who had fled Sanctus Lael would never have considered supporting a network of worlds maintaining pre-imperial traditions. That would have been heresy. But I was no longer that sister. I was no longer sure I was even a sister at all. What am I becoming? I asked. Someone who chooses compassion over compliance, Lisa replied. Someone who preserves rather than destroys. The Imperium has thousands of missionaries spreading its doctrine across the galaxy. Maybe the galaxy needs at least one missionary spreading something else. And so I began my new mission. Not spreading the Imperial creed, but helping communities preserve their own stories, their own ways of understanding the universe, even while outwardly complying with Imperial rule. I traveled from world to world, always moving, never staying long enough to attract official attention. On some worlds, I taught people how to encode their traditions in seemingly innocuous customs that Imperial authorities would overlook. On others, I connected isolated communities with others who shared similar experiences, building networks of solidarity across the void. It was slow work, dangerous work. More than once, I barely escaped inquisitorial attention. But it felt right in a way my service to the Imperium never had. Until I arrived at Sanctus Lael. 4 years after my desertion, my travels brought me back to the world where everything had changed. I did not plan to go there. My network did not include Sanctus Lael. Whatever Cardinal Vrain had done to it had been too thorough for any resistance to survive. But my transport needed repairs, and the nearest suitable facility was in the Sanctus Lael system. Against every instinct, I agreed to make planetfall. The world I found was unrecognizable. The joyful, vibrant capital of Lael Primus had been replaced by a monument to imperial orthodoxy. Every building bore the Aquila. Every street corner had a shrine. The people moved with the rigid precision of those who had been broken and remade. I walked through streets I had once known, wearing a concealing hood, seeing nothing familiar. Every trace of the indigenous culture had been erased. Every song I had heard children sing was gone. Every symbol that had marked doorways and windowways had been chiseled away. Cardinal Vrain had succeeded. He had purified Sanctus Lael. I found Sister Kyla by accident, recognizing her despite the years and the changes. She sat in a cathedral plaza, administering prayers to a line of penitents. When the line cleared, I approached. "Sister Kyla," I said quietly. She looked up, and I saw her eyes widen in recognition. "Sereth. Throne, they said you were dead." "I'm a deserter," I replied. "Might as well be dead." She glanced around nervously, then gestured for me to follow her to a more private alcove. "You shouldn't be here," she said once we were alone. "Vrain is still here. Still searching for any sign of the old ways. If he finds you..." "What happened?" I interrupted. "After I left. What happened to the people? The families?" Kyla's face went pale. It was worse than we expected. The resistance spread. Parents fought back when we tried to take their children. Vrain brought in guard regiments. There was fighting in the streets. By the end, she closed her eyes. By the end, 30,000 were dead. Another 100,000 were shipped off-world for re-education. The children were taken, just as he planned. Sanctus Lael was brought into full compliance. 30,000 dead. 4 singing songs. 4 carving symbols. For maintaining traditions that harmed no one. "And you stayed," I said, not quite an accusation but not quite neutral either. "I had no choice," Kyla replied. "Some of us tried to intervene, to moderate the violence. We were arrested, subjected to re-education ourselves. By the time they released us, it was over. The old Sanctus Lael was gone." She looked at me with hollow eyes. "You were right to run. I wish I had the courage to do the same. Instead, I witnessed it all and was powerless to stop any of it." "Kyla," I said gently, "are you telling me you want out?" She laughed, a broken sound. "Where would I go? I'm not brave like you. I don't have it in me to be a deserter." "You don't have to be a deserter," I told her. "You just have to be willing to help. There are communities across the Rim that need someone with inside knowledge of Imperial systems. Someone who understands how the ecclesiarchy thinks. You could save people, Kyla. Help them preserve what they are before the next Cardinal Vrain finds them." I saw something flicker in her eyes. Not quite hope, but the memory of hope. "I can't," she whispered. "I'm not strong enough." "Then get stronger," I said. "The galaxy is full of suffering we can't prevent. But there's some we can. Don't you want to try?" I left her my contact information, embedded in a prayer bead that looked orthodox but carried encrypted data. Whether she would use it, I didn't know. As I left Sanctus Lael for the final time, I looked down at the world from orbit and felt something settle inside me. This was what the Imperium did. This was what it had always done. Crushed diversity in the name of unity. Destroyed beauty in the name of purity. Created suffering in the name of order. And I had participated in it for 23 years, believing it was necessary, believing it was holy, believing the Emperor's blessing justified any atrocity. But some things, once seen, cannot be unseen. Some realizations, once reached, cannot be unlearned. The Emperor's blessing was a poison. Always had been. A lie that turned good people into monsters, that made cruelty seem righteous, that justified endless suffering for the sake of an empire that cared nothing for the individuals it consumed. I had seen that poison spill. Had watched it spread across Sanctus Lael, across Last Light, across 1,000 other worlds where the Imperium's touch had brought only pain. And I had finally understood what the architect had known. There was no reforming the Imperium from within. No making it gentler, kinder, more compassionate. The cruelty was the point. The suffering was intentional. The crushing of individual identity and community was the goal, not an unfortunate side effect. The only choice was to stand outside it. To help those it would destroy. To preserve what it would erase. To spill the poison before others could drink it. 6 years have passed since Sanctus Lael. I am no longer Sister Canoness Sereth Morn. I am simply Sereth now. A missionary without a church. A believer without an institution. A woman trying to do good in a galaxy designed for cruelty. I have built a network of thousands now, across hundreds of worlds. Communities that remember what they were before the Imperium. That maintain their traditions beneath the veneer of compliance. That teach their children songs in old languages while outwardly speaking only High Gothic. It is not enough. It will never be enough. The Imperium is vast, eternal, inexorable. What I preserve today will be discovered and destroyed tomorrow or the next day or a century from now. But the architect was right. The gesture matters. The attempt matters. The refusal to accept that the Imperium's way is the only way that has value beyond any practical outcome. I still pray, but not to the Emperor. I pray to something I cannot name, something that exists in the connections between people, in the preservation of beauty and culture and identity against forces that would erase them all. I pray that I am doing right, that my choice to desert, to resist, to preserve, is worth the cost. And sometimes, late at night when doubt creeps in, I remember the architect's final words. Someone needs to remember. Someone needs to tell the story. So I remember, and I tell the story, and I help others do the same. What happens when you realize the Emperor's blessing is poison? You stop drinking it. You warn others. You help them find clean water. And you accept that you will be called heretic, traitor, deserter for doing so. But you do it anyway. Because some things are worth more than survival. Some truths are worth dying for. I am Sereth Morn. I was a sister of battle. I became something else. And I would make the same choice again. The galaxy is vast. The Imperium is eternal. But in the cracks between, in the liminal spaces, in the communities that refuse to be erased, there is resistance. There is memory. There is hope. A blessing spilled on the floor reveals what it truly is. And once you see the poison, you can never unsee it. I have seen it. And I will spend whatever time remains to me making sure others see it too. That is my new mission. My new faith. My new purpose. And unlike my service to the Imperium, this feels like truth. I looked at the cogitator screen, at the impossible words still scrolling. You freed us. All of us. We remember. We thank you. But you've doomed yourself. They will hunt you forever. The Imperium does not forgive this. Run far. Run deep. Or accept what comes. Either way, you chose. That matters. Outside my window, the hive continued to burn with confusion. Sirens wailed. Voxcasters blared conflicting orders. Something fundamental had broken in the machine of Imperial control. I sat on my bunk for 3 days. Didn't go to work. Didn't leave my hab. Just waited. The dreams came every night. But they were different now. Not fragmented. Not confusing. Clear. Distinct. I could separate the voices. Name them. Kale. The child who broke his arm falling from a gantry. He'd been 7. Died at 14 when the black ship came. Mora. The woman who witnessed executions. She'd been a scribe. Tried to document the injustices she saw. They took her at 32. Davin. The cable hauler. Strong. Kind. Died in a shaft collapse saving 3 others. His soul was harvested before his body grew cold. 19 people. 19 lives. All ended. All broken down. All poured into me. I could feel them now. Not as fragments. As people. They spoke to me. Not in words. In feelings. In memories that were theirs but somehow also mine. They weren't angry. Just tired. And grateful. Thank you for remembering us. Thank you for making them see. On the 4th day, JL knocked on my door. I let her in. She looked exhausted. Haunted. It's spreading, she said without preamble. Across the hive. Across the planet. Reports are coming in from other worlds. Composites everywhere are waking up. Remembering. Some are breaking down. Some are self-terminating. Some are just standing in the streets, staring at nothing. The Imperium's response? Brutal. They're calling it a chaos corruption. A psychic plague. They're rounding up anyone showing symptoms. Processing them. recycling them faster than usual, trying to contain it. Can they? I don't know. Maybe. Eventually. But not before millions wake up. Not before millions understand what was done to them. She sat on the floor, leaned against the wall. Marek and Drace are dead. Arbites found them 2 days ago. They resisted. Were gunned down in the street. I closed my eyes. Syra. Gone. Don't know if she ran or if they took her. Either way, she's not at her station. And you? Why are you still here? Because I need to know what you're going to do. If you're going to run. If you're going to fight. If you're going to surrender. I thought about the architect. About Sereth Morn. About people across the galaxy who'd looked at the Imperium and chosen to resist in small ways. Quiet ways. Ways that wouldn't win but that mattered anyway. I'm going to remember, I said. And I'm going to help others remember. That's all I can do. JL nodded slowly. That'll get you killed. Probably. But at least I'll die as myself. Not as a tool. Not as a composite. As Valen Moore. And Kale. And Mora. And Davin. And all 19 of us together. She stood. Walked to the door. Stopped. There's a ship leaving tomorrow. Freighter heading rimward. I know the captain. He owes me. I can get you on it. No questions. You could disappear. Start somewhere new. What about you? I'm staying. Someone needs to help the ones who wake up here. Someone who understands. Who can guide them. Keep them from breaking completely. That's dangerous. Everything is dangerous now. She smiled. Thin. Real. But you taught me something. The gesture matters. Even if it changes nothing. Even if I only help 10 people. 20. That matters. The Imperium will find you. Let them. I'll do what I can until they do. She left. I sat in my hab until dawn. Thinking. Planning. Choosing. At first light I packed. Not much. A change of clothes. The tin box. My slate with the encrypted files I'd copied from every cogitator I could access. Names. Locations. Processing logs. Proof. I walked to the docks. Found the freighter. The captain was old. Scarred. She looked at me once and asked no questions. Just pointed to the cargo hold. 1,500 throne gelt. We leave in an hour. Can't promise where we'll end up. Anywhere is fine. I paid. Boarded. Settled into a corner of the hold behind crates of reclaimed components. As the freighter lifted, I looked down at the hive. At the smoke rising. At the lights of Arbite's speeders moving through the streets. At the world I'd known my entire life. The fragments stirred. Spoke. Where are we going? I don't know. Somewhere we can help. Somewhere we can tell the story. Somewhere we can make sure others remember. Will it work? Will it matter? Maybe not. Probably not. The Imperium is too vast. Too powerful. They'll hunt us. They'll find us eventually. They'll recycle us or kill us. Then why do it? I touched the scar behind my ear. Felt the 19 lives living inside me. Because you deserve to be remembered. Because what they did to you, to all of us, should not be forgotten. Because someone needs to stand outside the machine and say, this is wrong. This should not be. Even if it changes nothing? Especially if it changes nothing. The gesture matters. The attempt matters. The refusal to accept that this is how things must be. That has value. Even if we fail. Even if we die trying. The fragments were quiet for a moment. Then, together. Then we'll help you. All of us. For as long as we last. I pulled out my slate. Started writing. Recording everything. The facility, the processing, the strands, the awakening, all of it. Someone needed to know. Someone needed to tell the story. The Imperium had created millions of composites across thousands of worlds. Used us, controlled us, erased us when we were no longer useful. But they'd made a mistake. They'd stored all those fragments, all those memories, all those souls. And I'd set them free. Not all of them would wake. Not all of them would survive. Most would be recycled or killed before they understood what had happened. But some would remember. Some would resist. Some would refuse to be tools anymore. And that was something. Small. Insufficient. Doomed to fail. But something. I thought about Varric. About how he'd chosen release rather than suffering. That had been his choice. Valid. Brave in its own way. I thought about Tauren. About how he'd chosen to work until degradation. To exist with purpose even as a tool. That had been his choice too. Equally valid. And I thought about Maris Kane. About how she'd kept the records. Preserved the memory. Warned others even as they came to recycle her. All different choices. All meaningful. This was mine. The freighter broke atmosphere. Entered the void. I watched the Hive world shrink in the viewport. Watched it become just another light among billions. Somewhere down there, JL was helping composites understand. Somewhere, other strands were waking. Somewhere, the Imperium was trying to contain what I'd unleashed. I didn't know how it would end. Probably badly. Probably with all of us dead or recycled or broken. But we would be remembered. By each other, if no one else. By the 19 fragments in me. By the millions I'd freed from the archive. By the ones who woke and chose and existed as themselves, even for a moment before the Imperium took them back. That mattered. The captain's voice crackled over the Vox. Destinations changed. Getting reports of inquisitorial blockades at our planned stops. We're going deeper. Rim territories. Frontier worlds. Might be months before we make port. That's fine, I said. Months to plan. To prepare. To figure out how to help the composites who'd woken. How to preserve their stories. How to make sure the Imperium couldn't just erase what had happened. I opened my slate. Started compiling the data. Organizing it. Creating copies. Encrypting them. I'd hide this information across the rim. Seed it into cogitator networks. Leave it where others might find it. A poison in the Imperium's perfect machine. A truth they couldn't fully suppress. What happens when you realize you're made of ghosts? You honor them. You carry them. You refuse to let them be forgotten. You become a missionary for a faith the Imperium cannot tolerate. The faith that individual lives matter. That memories matter. That people are more than tools. You accept that you will be hunted, branded heretic, killed or recycled when they finally find you. But you do it anyway. Because some truths are worth dying for. I am Valen Moore. I am Kale and Mora and Davin and 16 others whose names I'm still learning. I am composite. I am fragments. I am ghosts made flesh. And I will spend whatever time remains making sure we are remembered. Making sure others like us know they are not alone. Making sure the Imperium's perfect crime leaves evidence behind. The gesture matters. The attempt matters. The refusal to accept erasure, that has value beyond any practical outcome. I have seen what the Imperium does to souls. How it breaks them, blends them, uses them until they degrade and then recycles them again. And I will spend my remaining years making sure others see it too. That is my mission now. My purpose. My choice. And unlike my service as a clerk, processing data for an empire that viewed me as disposable, this feels like truth. The fragments agree. All 19 of them. We are ghosts in the machine. But we remember. And we refuse to be silent. The freighter jumped. The stars elongated. The void swallowed us. And somewhere in my mind, 19 voices spoke as one. Tell our story. Make them remember. Don't let us be erased. I won't. I promise. For as long as I exist, I won't.